Is Bodies is the new A24 film here, starring Pete Davidson,
Bodies
Amanda.
cubed.
Bodies cubed, yeah, that's what I'm gonna call it. Yeah, Bodies cubed. That'd be a lot easier to say than just keep saying bodies. Yeah, Bodies cubed. Here, starring Pete Davidson, Amanda Steinberg here, Maria Balkova, who people might know. She was the daughter in Borat. Who I was like, oh yeah, she's the daughter from that, who is in Borat 2, who I thought was very good in Borat 2, by the way.
It's
Very,
nice
very
to see her get more work because she deserves it after Borat. So
yeah, because I thought she was a real big standout in that movie, which is, I mean, a big accomplishment because you're standing next to Sacha Baron Cohen, who's great comedic talent himself. So yeah, you have her in this movie as well. You also have Lee Pace, who is in this movie as well. The premise of this movie is that it is a hurricane coming, and then all these characters decide to have a hurricane party. Basically, all hang out, all these group of friends with each other for the night, and wait till the hurricane passes over. You have the character of Sophie and B, who are girlfriends, who are coming to Sophie's friend's house, Pete Davidson's house, who Pete Davidson's character name in this is, his name was it, what was his name? David, right?
it was David. Yeah,
David. Coming to
yeah.
David's house to kind of hang out. And while they're hanging out, they decide to play the game called Bodies, which is basically, it's kind of like a Among Us type game, I guess you want to say, where you have a killer, and then you go around, and then you touch someone in the back, and then they have to play dead and everything like that. So they have to go and kind of find the killer, things like that. But things start kind of getting out of control. Obviously drugs, alcohol don't obviously help the situation, and then things start to spiral from there. When I saw the trailer for this movie, I was kind of like, I don't know about this movie so far. I mean, usually A24. They pump out a lot of different stuff, but they mostly are known for having some really interesting stuff. Probably some of the most interesting stuff to come out in Hollywood right now. And walking out of this movie, I would say I'm a big fan of it. It might be even on my top 10 list, I will say.
Wow.
And watching kind of all these kind of characters, I very much like how kind of this movie is somewhat of a critique on satire a little bit, maybe on Gen Z culture, as you say, and the kind of cringeness of that a little bit, because you have these characters in the movie who all of them are rich brats, except for the Maria character, who's I'm sorry, not the Maria character, B, who's played by Maria Barkova. All of them are like rich brats, pretty much. And they even say, like, with one of the characters, like, especially with, like, they say about Pete Davidson's character and Steinberg's character, Sophie, that, like, yeah, we're rich, but you're rich. Like, you're really rich. You know what I mean? And things like that. And you see the house that they're in, David's house, played by Pete Davidson, that, he's got a nice big house, too. And all these kind of kids hanging out. And you're going to hear a lot of words like, gaslighting and toxic and, hey, don't be ableist, you're triggering me and things like that. And I think that's on purpose of that, because I think the movie's very funny, as much as, like, it has great tension in it and can even maybe be good at some of the horror elements of it. It is also very funny, and seeing all these kind of characters interact. And immediately when Sophie kind of comes to the house, you feel the tension there, and all of these kind of dynamics of the different friend group. And when they even start to get into the game, you start to see, like, the different, like, this friend group and all the tension that's there, and the different, relationships between all the different people, which I thought was very nice. What were your thoughts on the movie?
I walked away from this movie just kind of like, I just thought it was fine. I think that the cinematography was actually really stunning, and just seeing, like, how they lit a scene with, like, the Gen Z, what's glow sticks and stuff like that, and just like, and just the concept of lighting a scene too with iPhone screens, which, by the way, doesn't really make any sense that an iPhone would last an entire night during the blackout. It seems like that, like, especially when they're at 100%, Like that's kind of I kind of had to suspend my disbelief there just because I think most of those iPhones would probably be dead at that point.
Right.
But I thought this movie was like generally pretty funny, and I don't. Whenever Pete Davidson is in something, I usually like to go see like that project just because I find Pete Davidson kind of repulsive. I thought he was actually pretty good at. I found him pretty good in this movie. Like he's basically kind of playing himself a little bit, and but I don't know. I but the one issue that I would kind of have with this movie is I think it's trying to juggle a little bit too much. Like it wants to be like this sort of slasher horror whodunit like type movie, but
Mm-hmm.
then it also wants to comment on like you said like the Gen Z culture and like have like these themes of who do we believe and like what stories uh like who's telling the right story and stuff like that like based on the like the ending of the film which I won't spoil but uh I I felt like that theme about like who's telling kind of like the right story and who to believe was done better in like other movies, and I kind of wish that this movie kind of stuck more to the who done it rather than like those like than those themes that it wanted to kind of touch on. But yeah,
Okay, okay. With the whodunit stuff, I like that element. You said it's kind of juggling maybe too much and try to, maybe doing too much there. I thought it fit well, kind of with the story of them like playing this game, how it is evolving, how things kind of just get crazy and crazy. I'm always a big fan of things that kind of like put normal people in crazy type situations and see kind of
hmm
how wild things can get. Like, speaking of like other A24 movies, like Uncut Gems or something like that with Adam Sandler, of like, constant his life is just going to shit slowly. As you see it just kind
hmm
of deteriorating. Here, it's kind of a similar thing of this night. It just keeps getting worse and worse for a lot of these characters. And to see how like like I said, the tension is there, and to see how kind of like more things kind of get said over time as they get more stressed. Things start to come out and revealed about him, and about their friendship, that I thought was very interesting. And Pete Davidson in this movie, who I haven't seen a lot of Pete Davidson's acting. I mean, I've seen him on SNL sometimes. I didn't watch
hmm
his movie like The King of Staten Island. I hear that's pretty good, but I've never watched it. But to see him in this, I liked him in this. I thought he's funny, and to see like him and Lee Pace, because there's only two guys amongst these group of girls here, and so he's kind of like, what's the term, like kind of peacocking is the term, right? Kind of just like
yeah, I think so.
trying to stand up to Lee Pace, or going like, man, you ain't that cool. You ain't that fucking good
hmm
looking. Like, calm the fuck down, man. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, maybe he's good looking to like moms. You know what I mean? Like, maybe that. You know what I mean? But yeah, he ain't all
You know
that.
what? I don't think he was acting in that scene, like right there. When it's like, I think that's just Lee Pace and Pete Davidson just having like a moment, just kind of like the moment in Top Gun with, uh, like I like those moments specifically, like in movies, like just because I don't know that just brings so much authenticity to like each character. That's why I like that Top Gun moment so much. But yeah, I'm coming off like I don't like this movie because I actually do like it a lot. It's just I think I was just going in like expecting like some something else than what I initially got,
Hmm.
and and also feel like going back to the themes, kind of like each like the whole premise of this game is like you said is like people like play dead and you're supposed to figure out it's like a game of Among Us. You're supposed and people have like a story on like who did it, and the especially like in Gen Z culture, even though I'm not Gen Z, but from what I can see from like the outside looking in, is that everyone kind of has like a take, like nowadays, or like a portion of the story, and like it's important to get everyone's side and stuff like that, not just kind of lean in one direction. And that's what that was kind of like some of the issues with some of the girls that like they're kind of leaning on one story more than the other. And I
Hmm.
feel like a movie like Vengeance, it's a totally different movie. I feel like a movie like Vengeance dealt with a theme like that a little bit better. Like
Hmm.
I know it's a completely different movie, but I think I just walked away from Vengeance just like being like that's probably going to be like one of my top 5 movies of the year, to be honest.
Mm.
So it was kind of clouding my like perspective. So
Yeah, and that's the movie with B.J. Novak. I have to check out that movie.
mhm. Yeah,
If
Vengeance is incredible, absolutely incredible. I don't want to take like bodies, take the spotlight from bodies, but like Vengeance, everyone should go check out. But
I will go check that out. But with this movie, with bodies squared, as Marley coined it. Um,
cubed,
oh, cubed. I'm sorry, cubed. Yeah,
yeah,
cubed.
it's
Um,
just body. If it's body squared,
yeah, this is body. Yeah, so yeah, bodies cubed. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah, with this, Um, I like all the performances from the people here. Like we mentioned Pete Davidson, but like Lee Pace, for instance, I thought he has kind of a good role here. He's like the older guy. Here this movie hanging out, which yeah, I mean, his ass too old to be hanging out with, kind of 20 somethings anyway. You know what I mean? Hanging out in the pool, things like that. But you also had a great cast of also kind of the women in this movie. Maria Bakova I thought was very nice. Chase who Wonders who I thought Rachel Sennett was very nice. Mahala Harold I thought was also very good. Also the lead character Amanda Steinberg also was very good. Did you like all the cast of the people, all the women in this? Or
Yeah, I thought the cast was actually really great. I don't think there was really a bad performance in this entire movie. I will just kind of piggyback on like what you said about Lee Pace maybe being too old to being around like all these girls and stuff like that.
yeah,
It's a little creepy. And I can actually on like how old is Pete Davidson, to be honest? I think
28.
he might be
I mean,
because
he's
it's,
I mean, he's in the same age
it's
range, yeah. Because like, I mean, the girls in this movie, you would say like, I mean, I guess because they're in college, I guess is what they say. So it's like
yeah,
they're maybe 23, 24.
yeah,
So
like 5 year, 7 year difference. So it's not as bad as Lee Pace, but still, it's just like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like the college kid is still hanging out at the high school parties. That's where my brain went with like Pete Davidson and stuff like that.
I
Which
don't know. Maybe because I
which
guess
some
he
people
looks,
still do, but
I
hmm,
guess because he looks much older than all the other girls. I guess.
yeah,
Uh,
true. But
yeah. Yeah, I thought all of them were very good, and I especially liked the one who played Jordan. I liked her a lot. I thought her kind of journey. I thought the movie was also very good. And when you mentioned the ending with a movie like this, it sometimes it kind of depends on the ending and how you feel about it. And
hmm
I thought it worked for what the movie was going for. And of
hmm
course, I won't spoil what the ending was, but I think it worked for what the fits what kind of the movie was going for and fit the tone of the movie. So
hmm
I thought that was good. So I could see some people going like, "Oh, that okay? I waited all this time for just that." And this also movie's
yeah.
not very long. It's only like an hour and 30 something minutes too.
hmm
And also the way it was shot also is very much also an accomplishment because of like it's a movie primarily in the dark because
hmm
there's a hurricane, so the lights get there's something wrong with the generator, so the lights kind of go off, and then all electricity gets shut down. So it's mostly a movie shown through like people's like they have their phones, they have the light on, and then the glow sticks and all that type of stuff. And I thought that was also shot really really well, and really
hmm
done very well. I appreciated that. Yeah, what did you think kind of
And
about that stuff?
yeah, I actually really liked the way this movie looked, and I actually did. I looked up like the directors. Helena Rain, is that how you say it? Uh,
Sure, we'll go with
like
that.
her, yeah, but her, all these directors with like weird sounding names. Sorry, no offense, but it's or hard sounding names. But I looked up her like past work, and she has a huge theater background, and I
Mm,
can totally see like how like this basic like it's basically just like what like a bottle movie where it's
yeah.
like limited sets and like it's shot pretty much like a play because it's like very limited sets and just kind of rotating stuff in and out. So just seeing like a movie kind of shot like that was actually shot like a play was I always really enjoy because one of my favorite films from last year, Mass. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but
I heard about it, haven't seen it.
yeah, it's basically just like a movie where people are talking, and essentially, like this movie is is basically a movie where people are talking too, just in Gen Z language.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Which I
Um,
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, which I like. With some people, I saw some people say like, "Well, it's kind of cringe or whatever." A lot of these, the way they're talking, I'm like, well, I think that's kind of the point. It's supposed to be like satirical and and
Hmm.
of this generation of the people in the movie. Like they're going through dire circumstances, and one character points out, it's like, well, actually, I even have some body dysmorphia and things like that I've never told anybody about. I was like, I think some of that stuff is kind of funny, the way they
Hmm.
kind of do it in the movie. So it depends on how you're gonna kind of feel about a lot of that stuff here. Yeah, I any final word on it before I move on to ratings or?
Um, but I know it kind of seems like I didn't like this movie a lot, but I might actually see it again just because I feel like the first time I did watch it, like I watched a pretty late screening, so it was kind of like I wasn't falling asleep or anything like that, but it was just kind of like I don't know. It's just um, I don't know. It's totally a movie that's very digestible, and you can just like you said, it's 90 minutes, and I don't know, and it's just like fun to look at too. Just and like with the cinematography and stuff like that. But
Mm.
yeah, I generally like all the performances, and that's pretty rare for me to say. Like with Pete Davidson, Pete Davidson really knocked it out of the park here, and I went in pretty with very low standards with him, so I'm just like, yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So what rating would you give it?
Um, I think I think I would just give this. I think I would give it a tune in, kind of like middle of the road tune in. Like
Mm.
still go out to the theater and check this one out. Especially it's a wider release now, but it's not one of my favorite movies of the year. I feel like there's I've seen better movies so far.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I have a list of movies that I have still have to see so far. To me to really, I think because we're closing in on the end of the year, it's kind of getting, especially coming close to Oscar time. You know what I mean? Like late
Hmm.
kind of this year, coming into October. That's when like October's kind of the beginning of when a lot of Oscar stuff starts to come out and big contenders. Because I still have to see Marcel the Seashell. So I have to see that. Try saying that 3 times fast. Then I still see Vengeance, like you mentioned, that movie. So yeah, still got some stuff on my list. But I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed Bodies Cubed. Um, really liked it. Liked the performances in it. Like kind of the satire of it. And like having this game of like kind of guess the killer, like you mentioned, of like especially what I mean. This kind of well. I don't know if it's just this culture or whatever, you know what I mean? I mean, this has always been a thing throughout society anyway. I wouldn't pin it on
Hmm.
Gen Z or anything of like having one side of the story and then going off that. And then, especially like you see throughout the game of like they just accuse somebody and they're already ready to vote them out just through the biases of, you know what I mean? Them already not liking this one person for them saying something and then just going off of that, which I thought was really fascinating. I thought a lot of that stuff too. Um,
Have you seen Lord of the Flies? It's like hearing you describe it, kind of it reminds me of a movie or book, kind of like Lord of the Flies, where it's
Lord of
just
the
about
Flies,
kids just gang. Yeah, go
yeah.
ahead. Hmm.
Oh yeah, I can kind of see that a little bit. Yeah, like that too. Yeah, kind of that turning on each other and what I mean stuff gets kind of revealed. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, there's a little bit of that. So yeah, I thought it was a very strong film. This is the director's English debut. She had her directorial debut like a few years ago with a movie called Instinct, and she's a Dutch filmmaker. So
Hmm.
I thought it was a very strong outing for your English debut. I'd give it a strong tune in. I recommend people check it out. And I would love to hear like what younger, especially younger people think about it. Me, I'm old as hell. I'm getting up there, so I'm like 27. So I'm not Gen Z at all. So I'd love to
Hmm.
hear what maybe mid 20s, early 20s would have to say about it. Uh, about this movie. See if it really
And
resonates with them.
I'm glad you said that too, because the director is also not Gen Z, so it's interesting here, like seeing like her perspective on like this culture and telling it. Well, we'll leave it up to people that are Gen Z to see if it's like actually accurate.
Hmm.
But it's interesting, kind of like seeing like Gen Z's been around for a while now, and people are already making films kind of like about their culture, and
Yeah.
and kind of like making fun of it and stuff like that. So I thought that was actually really interesting too. So
Yeah, and especially like you see a lot of it. It's a movie about a lot about phones, like they
Mhm.
like got a
Yeah.
lot of phones, yeah, and everything like that. And I mean, all the actors in the movie, I mean, except for like Pete Davidson and Lee Pace, they mostly fall into Gen Z. I mean, I think all the
Mhm.
women in it, like they're like early 20s, things like that. Like the lead
Yeah.
actress, she's 23. Maria Bacoa, she's 26. So they all fall into like the Gen Z range, I think there of
Mhm.
in the actors. So yeah, for me, I'd give it a strong tune in. Yeah, but if you're someone younger, I'd love to hear what you think about this movie if it resonates with you. Oh.